What's going on, VIP? So here are the settings for the LG G4. We're going to start this off by opening up our settings, obviously. And we're going to go into Filmmaker Mode. We're going to hover over Filmmaker Mode, and with our magic remote, we're going to type in the code 1113111. This is where we have our HDMI signaling override menu. You will need an HDMI device to access this menu, so this won't work for streaming apps. We're going to change it to BT 2020. You can leave it to auto if you want. Auto will give you more natural color, so you're going to have to go about these settings like this. If you're watching over-the-air TV shows or streaming through something, I don't know, you're going to want to do it that way. But if you're playing video games, then you're going to want to activate the HDMI signaling override menu and go into colorimetry and change it to BT 2020. Once you do that, then you'll get way more saturation of your color. So again, auto if you're just watching natural stuff or documentaries or stuff like that. BT 2020 if you want the most amount of color throw. Particularly, again, you're playing video games, watching anime, that's when you're going to want to use BT 2020. Then we're going to go into, again, our aspect ratio 16:9. I'm going to actually go ahead 111311 and change it back to auto, just so we have that, so you guys can kind of see, like, that's kind of how I would set it up. Okay, aspect ratio 16:9, advanced settings. Then we're going to go under brightness, and we're going to have OLED light at 99, just contrast at 98, black level 38, auto dynamic contrast off, peak brightness high, gamma is BT 1886. We don't touch the rest. Then we go to color set to 50. Now you can set auto detect if you want. Again, don't want explosive color. Again, you're watching a nature documentary, something like that, you want a little bit more muted color paletry, go that route. If you really want it more muted, then you can maybe go the route of Adobe RGB. Adobe RGB has slightly more red to it than what we have on the auto detect, so you can choose if you want just a slight kick in red, then that's what you would do, but it's still kind of just as washed. Native is going to give you more vibrancy, dynamic even more vibrancy, so choose which one works best for you and your setup. Under the fine tune, this is basically where we're going to go under color adjustment. You can choose to have it off if you don't want to use the color adjustment, high if you want the most amount of red and saturation, and medium if you just want a little less. If you want a little less, basically, like, again, anime, video games, things like that, medium is a pretty decent way to go. User selection is what I ended up using for what I'm setting this TV up like, where I have the following values for the color red: 0, 0, -21. For the color green, it is 0, +1, -26. For the color blue, we have +7, 0, and -26. For cyan, we have +7, 0, and -27. For magenta, we have 0, +1, and -9. And for yellow, we have 0, 0, and -8. Now, under white balance, we do quite a lot of stuff, some of which is experimental. I have the color temperature set to 36. 45 also works if you prefer a warmer color paletry, 44 to 45. So we're going to start off with the 2-point method of calibration. This is going to be pretty much mostly universal for everybody. So under the low point, we have -12, -34, and -49. Under the high point, we have 0, -33, and -44. This next part is extraordinarily experimental. Try it at your own risk. If it doesn't work, reset it. Under the 10-point signal level, we're going to do the following things. We're going to have show brightness level at maximum at 89, and then we're going to have our green at -5 and our blue at -42. Then we're going to change to the different input signal levels. So like now we're at 90, and again we have blue at -25, and we're going to go to 90, or rather 80, blue at -25 again, and we pretty much repeat this all throughout. We're going to just lower the blue by -25. Again, that's to defeat a lot of the over blue that a lot of you guys are going to run into. And then -25 on the blue, and then we're going to do it again. And then you just do it all the way until you get to the very last one, which is 10, which is again -25, and just do it that way. And that should help you. And 89 will be locked for the show minimum brightness, and then we can go into the signal level and pump it back up to like the 100 to access the 89, which you can change the minimum brightness level to, which again, if you don't want 89, then you can lower it down. I believe it was like 86, 87. I think that 87 is probably where it was, but I just decided to go up to 89 to give it a little bit extra. And now we're going to go into clarity options, where 25 is the sharpness, high on super resolution, both noise reductions off, smooth gradation on high. User is basically user selection for motion adjustments, where I max out everything, basically blur reduction, judder reduction, and I don't use OLED light. Counteractively, you can use smooth if you'd like a very smooth, fluid, natural looking picture, but if you want something with some cinematic judder to it, then just turn it off or use any of these three: cinematic movement or natural. I hate judder, so I don't use any kind of quotation mark natural movement, because the world doesn't chop and judder when I look at it, which is why I always do these settings as real and true to life as I can. Now, pretty much all that being said and done, you're pretty much finished. I mean, if you're in a scenario where you want to defeat blue light, you can do that too. I mean, you don't need to for these settings, but that's really basically it, right? That'll give you a picture that is really going to be truly impressive on the LG G4, especially for gaming. 3111. I'm just making sure. And then if you are watching natural stuff, you're going to want to be on auto, but BT 2020 if you want that extra sauce and juice and that color kick. And you can do a couple different things with color as well. You can turn it to auto or RGB, which will wash out the color pretty dramatically. So there are ways around like how red it will be, because it will look really freaking red. Like, I mean, really red if you use dynamic or native and normal content. So to get around that, you can use Adobe RGB or you can use auto detect. That is entirely up to you as to what you want to use. Just drop my controller and everything on the floor there, but that's fine. But you get the idea. It basically will give you some options as to how you can move and what you can do and that sort of thing. So hopefully these settings help you guys out. I think it does a really damn good job. As you saw in the comparison video, it did good. You just have to know when to switch. It is a little bit more of a confusing type of setting. You have some experimental stuff going on. You have some color options going on between natural and very saturated, that would to the point of looking broken if you were to watch something else. But this honestly is to give the G4 its ultimate chance, right, to have the best looking picture it can possibly have. And so that's why we did it this way. As always, I want to thank you guys so much for being VIPs and trusting what I do here. I don't really have a whole lot of time. I'm not going to be able to do HDR settings, I don't think, because I'm going to be going out of town. And so there's just a lot that I just don't have time to do right now. But hopefully these settings help you guys and you find happiness with them and that kind of thing. And until the next video, I'll see you guys later.